What I want to do is I want to expose double-mindedness for what it is and open your heart to the wisdom and the single-mindedness that's available for you right here, right now. It's not somewhere far away, and it's not some complex ordeal. It's rather simple, but we got to confront some things to walk this journey out. And it leads us to James chapter 1, verse 5 and 8. There's some very simple yet incredibly profound instructions if we slow down and just take in what's being said here. He first says, if any of you lack wisdom. Now, one of the things that when we lose focus, we become double-minded, is we lose the power of what wisdom is able to carry in a given moment or a given situation. What's wisdom? Wisdom, in a simple definition, is the ability to take knowledge and apply it in the right season, in the right moment, in the right timing, in the right way. And see, many of us, we want wisdom, but we're not growing in the knowledge and understanding of God in our hearts. Wisdom often pulls from the grid of what's within us to know the decisions to make. God is saying, though, that He's wanting to pour this all out on you. He wants to pour out understanding and pour out the wisdom, the ability to know in a given moment how to make a decision. And this is where double-mindedness comes in and wants to trap you and wants to block you. He says this, if you lack wisdom, then spend 10 years going to school and taking classes and learning about wisdom and you'll get it. No, it doesn't say that. Now, that's true. You need to grow in the knowledge and understanding of God, especially in a heart way, not just a head knowledge. Pursuing relationship, because wisdom grows out of relationship with God. In fact, the proverb writer said that Solomon, who wrote much of what we appreciate in the Proverbs, he gained it from his relationship with his father and his mother. You see, it's relationship, tutelage, and mentoring that helps us learn and grow in the wisdom of God. But this is what God says. If you lack it, which all of us lack it to some degree, He says, just let him ask of God. Like, man, that just sounds so simple. Almost too simple. Almost too good to be true. Now, to first address this, we have to first address your specific God lens. Do you relate to a God who's angry, judgmental? Do you relate to a God who's holding back? Do you relate to a God who leaves you hanging when you need wisdom? This is very, very important because your God grid is going to affect what's going to come next. Because this is what James says. He says He gives it to all liberally, meaning He chooses freely to give this out. Okay? So this is not a God who's holding back. And He says He does it without reproach, meaning He doesn't give you a hard time about it. He doesn't make this so difficult. And like, here's wisdom, oh, you missed it. Here's wisdom, oh, you missed it. No. That's not how He operates. But you need to know the context in where God lives. He says, this wisdom is going to be given to you if you just ask. But this is something you understand. God lives in the world of faith. So this is the thing you're going to have to understand. I'm not holding it back. I'm not hiding it. I'm not putting a million conditions, but you need to know I live in faith. I live in the world of faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Faith takes action. It is single-minded. Living in faith is cultivating the muscle of single-mindedness. One decision after another, taking what God's word says, growing in it, and learning as we go. He says when you do, you're going to have to ask in faith. This is where single-mindedness comes into play, and then you're going to see where double-mindedness comes in. He says, ask in faith with no doubting. So what does the doubt do? The doubt takes us out of what's available. Because usually when we ask for wisdom, there's usually a simple yet profound wisdom that's available to us. But what we do in the moment, we want faith to activate, but then doubt takes over. And so it's normal to have doubt in your life. But what happens is when we feed and fuel, remember in my video on focus, what you focus on grows. Many times what we do is we live and we're just cultivating the doubt. And then we go, God, I need wisdom. When we're living a lifestyle of constant cynicism and constant doubt and constant, yeah, but. Of course, when we meet wisdom and God says, just be in faith, be single-minded. That's what this is really saying. Be single-minded. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm stepping into. Grow. And when you do that, it develops your confidence. And when you build that confidence, layer by layer, you develop that muscle to live in the wisdom of God. And he's saying, watch out for that doubt, though. Because the doubt, what will the doubt do? The doubt will first question your God grid. Is God really a good father? Is God really going to be here for you? Is God really giving you wisdom? And so that's why I do so much work with helping people to reestablish, well, are you relating to who he is as a good father? Do you know him as a loving father? What's the grid you carry? And usually you can find out the areas of your grid that need healing when you get into trials, when you get into difficult time, and you need wisdom. And in the same context, James talked about rejoice when trials come. Well, how do we rejoice when trials come? We got to know the kind of God that we're relating to. And many people need a reconstruction of how they even perceive God before this wisdom thing happens, because they see a God with reproach who makes it hard. He's a taskmaster. He's just laborious in what he puts burden and pressure, and kind of like mockingly, I see you can't do it, because they see God in that way. They don't see a God who gives it out liberally. So he says, ask in faith and watch out for this doubting. The doubting will question who God is, and the doubting enters with one phrase: what if? Creates a sense of uncertainty and wants you to get distracted by this alternative reality. So now instead of living single-minded, you're living double-minded. You're entertaining two avenues. And your heart and mind was not made to have two minds. Just one. You were made to live single-minded, not living with two minds, right? So what happens? It's like playing on the pinball machine. You know those pinball machines? And when you would shake the pinball machine, it would do what? Tilt. And the flippers would stop working and the ball would just go. And for most of you, that's what happens. You're walking, and because of insecurity, we don't know who we are. We don't know who God is in this moment. And what we really need to do is take that step forward. But we become very hesitant. I remember when I was playing basketball in high school, I was very nervous and had a lot of anxiety. Even though I loved basketball, I had a lot of pressure. And I remember in practice, I'd be dribbling down the court, and be trying to make a decision. And I'd pick the ball up after dribbling, and I would go to pass, but I would hesitate. And like, maybe I should shoot. I created this really bad habit. And one time my coach blew the whistle and he yelled out, "Mark, you're going to be lost if you continue to hesitate. Shoot it, pass it, make a decision." So what he was really bringing home there is not about should I pass or should I shoot. What was the thing? Make a decision. And people that are double-minded, they don't know how to just make a decision with the best that they know right now. So that place, so let's say you have a 70% confidence. That 30% gets attacked by doubt and uncertainty. Or maybe you're like 10% sure, but you're struggling, right? Whatever percentage is unsure, the enemy comes in with a what if and increases doubt and increases these vulnerable places. Then what happens is we turn to it, because most people in their journey, they know what wisdom is saying, but they can't step into it because the doubt magnifies the uncertainty, makes the uncertainty so big, and they give it attention because of fear. Fear is underneath all our double-mindedness, because fear inflames the word what if, or the words what if. So he says, listen, just don't doubt. So what God is encouraging in your life is step in faith. He's encouraging you, take the step. You don't have to do everything perfect. Now, this is one of the key reasons why we procrastinate. Procrastination is this major battle that is fueled by double-mindedness. What's fueling our procrastination? You know what you need to do, but you don't do it. Why? Usually a fear of failure. Because we have this pressure on us, this perfectionistic pressure to get everything right. And nowhere in here does God saying you got to make all the perfect steps. Because wisdom is learned in the taking action. I've learned in my life for years, I would hesitate, and I had to get everything just right and get it in my mind just right. And then I'll take the step. Then I'll make the decision. When I feel good, then I'll make the decision. And I had to learn, you can't wait for all those things to align. You've got to make a single-minded decision. And I found that God honors a step of faith. Even at times we feel we're making the best decision we know, God works with us because He teaches us in the doing. Why? Because He honors faith. He honors that you take a step. This is the best that I know right now, and I'm going to make a decision and take a step and stop wavering, as Elijah said in the Old Testament, wavering between two opinions, wavering between two areas. And if you find yourself in double-mindedness, you're one decision from it breaking off. Make a decision. Well, which one should I make? Make a decision. You see what God's saying here? Our argument is the two options. Is it A or B? And God goes, make a decision. And we go, but God, you're not answering the question. Is it A or B? Make a decision, because He's getting to the root. God's not putting pressure on you to have to live a perfect life and make every decision perfect. You only make decisions on the level of your current level of knowledge, wisdom, and ignorance and immaturity. Make a decision, and here's what I've learned in my life. I'm going to step out because God's going to meet me in the doing more than He meets me in the figuring it out, debating, asking a million questions, asking 10 people, what do you think? What do you think? Maybe I should go to a counselor. Maybe I should go to this person. I've learned that produces nothing but double-mindedness. And this is what James says, for he who doubts means you give attention to it. It doesn't mean he who struggles with doubt. He who's giving and feeding the doubt. And for some people with obsessive tendencies, man, you could really feed the doubt and uncertainty. And that's what you give your focus and your attention over to. And he says, you know what happens to that person? Every wave that hits. And that's why we're often emotionally unstable. Our focus is all over the place. We're so heavily distracted and we're tossed by the wind. And so he says, listen, don't even think you're going to receive anything. Look what it says here. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. And some people, they receive that and they get discouraged. Oh, see, never. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that this is how important single-minded faith is. And it doesn't mean you have 100% certainty. Folks, we live in this balance of certainty and uncertainty that we struggle with. That we're like, man, I know, but man, I'm on my way. But I make decisions by faith, knowing that God will be with me. And if I'm off, He'll show me and I'll learn it. And even in the learning, He'll empower me. He's not going to condemn me or shame me. This broke years of disempowering patterns in my life. Because what if would just derail me. And I learned either shoot the ball, pass it, make a decision. And many of you are one decision away from many things changing. A key rooted decision in your life where you're saying, I want wisdom. God's saying it's here. So just kick out the doubt, kick out the fear, kick out the hesitancy, and make a firm decision and live in it. Well, I'm nervous making the decision. Well, you're breaking the fear factor in your life. You're breaking the fear of failure. People who are often able to break through limitations of the mind, break through limitations in their life, in their family, in their business, they're willing to step out of the boat, walk on the water, and they're willing to do the learning out there. You know, when Jesus said, Peter, come out and walk on water, he wasn't like, oh, let me figure this out. What's the science here? He took the step and he learned in it. And yes, he sunk down and Jesus had to pull him up, but he still experienced and learned God in a personal way. I can't say this enough. You learn in the doing. And he said, don't expect to receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. So what does double-mindedness produce? It's one of the biggest producers of emotional, spiritual, relational instability. Because God didn't make you to be caught between two opinions all the time. So what happens, it's like changing gears and you're jamming the clutch and the car's just, No wonder you're stressed out, exhausted, and even depressed and discouraged because double-mindedness wants to keep you back from what's available. So, being single-minded involves making a decision. Trusting wisdom is here. God, I'm asking you for wisdom. So I'm making the decision the best I know. In the doing, your grace is available. And I go, okay, I need to make an adjustment here. And God's grace works with you in learning and growing and so that's why I find God works tremendously in the movement versus you just standing still and just doing nothing, hesitating. God, as though God's going to push you by your back and push you where you need to go. This is your day to rise up and overcome. So, what's keeping you in double-mindedness? Is it listening to the what if, feeding the uncertainty, fear of failure? It's causing you to procrastinate, insecurity. It's like, I don't know, this is a new step for me. You're one decision away from a lot of things breaking through. I pray that a work of single-mindedness will open up and you'll see some freedom break through as you simply just make a decision and act on it. I pray this helps your focus and helps your journey to experience more healing and freedom. I'll see you in future resources. Now, if this video was helpful for your life and your journey, I want to encourage you to get a copy of this book, I Will Not Fear, because it goes over the fear factor and how it influences our life. And it impacts the world of double-mindedness and keeps us from single-mindedness and the wisdom that's there. The fear of failure, the fear of things not working out, the what ifs, all those things that begin to consume us and inflame the doubt and uncertainty, which begins to take over. Get a copy of this and use it as a new reference for overcoming every work of fear in your life and allowing faith, hope, and love to grow dramatically in your journey. Get a copy of it and let me know if it helps you and encourages your journey. God bless you.